So my role, besides the businesses that I work on, I'm often stuck in a situation between I'm dealing with conflict all the time. And what's hard sometimes is balancing the need of the business versus the need of the customer versus the resources that we have available and how stretched they are. And when you're making the decision, the hard part is that you've got to realize that there's actually no right answer. There's an answer, and there's always going to be someone who's got a different point of view. And actually, you might make the decision to say, we're going to go ABC, but someone else with a bit more of a different perception or a different perspective, whatever, might say, well, actually, it's B, C, D, and then A. And the hard part is actually taking that step back and asking the question, is that a better solution for the business? Is that a better solution for the situation, etc.? Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes it's an ego thing and a insecurity thing to not always want to have the answer. So that's why I think it's a hard thing, especially when you're in a leadership position, because, in a lot of companies by default, because you're in a leadership position, you feel like there's an expectation. This is often called the imposter syndrome, that you should always have the answer. And what I find typically actually is if you don't think you have the answer and you say so, somebody else does. And they just weren't prepared to say anything because they're worried about some self-imposed hierarchical nonsense, to be fair. Well, I think it's the exact converse of what I've just said. So I think the good thing is that when you learn to, in your role, whether you're a leader or a team member, when you learn to share your idea or your solution or your take, that the benefit to everybody else is that they can bounce off what you've given. So you might steer something by saying something and someone goes, oh, that's completely wrong, blah, blah, blah. But because you said it, that actually might spark the train of thought that solves the problem. And I quite like I was reading the Scrum book again, and one of the concepts in the Scrum book was that when you have a problem, the best thing to do is to pull together the people to solve the problem right there, right now. And it's very much that thing. And you want people to contribute to help you solve the problem. And you've got to take everyone's point of view to get you there. And there's lots of concepts around this lateral thinking by Edward Bono with the 6 thinking hats, another framework that I kind of leverage every so often as well. But I think the point is that when you look at the diversity of your team, if you have people that think differently, you're bound to get a much more holistic solution to your problem. I think I've kind of talked through the lesson in various ways, but I think the biggest lesson, and it's a leadership lesson, is that your role as a leader is not to solve the problem. Your position is to articulate what the problem is and let the people that are the experts, which is your team members, tell you how to solve it as a collective, because they'll work on it and come back to you because they're in the detail, they understand what's going on. They'll have the nuances of the platform, for example, or the regulations or whatever it is, and say, well, we can't do this because of X, Y, Z. If you're trying to be the leader who gives the problem and gives a solution, then why do you have a team? So the lesson is to let the experts solve it. And then your role basically defaults to more of a coach or a steerer, just to make sure that they're on the right track or they've got all the information and they haven't forgotten something that was pertinent to the problem.